Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I'm delivering the State of the City 2020 in review as we go along. Well over a year ago in February 2019, I did the State of the City, and I normally do these in front of the Chamber of Commerce, and I have an audience of several hundred. And today I'm doing this remotely from our City Council chambers, which is myself and our engineer that makes this happen, Corey. And it's kind of a different thing because I'm doing this solo, and usually I love to have the enthusiasm of people. One of the tough things that we have going into today is usually once I deliver the message, I open up a 10 to 15 minute question and answer period for those out there so they can ask me any kind of question that they wish. We don't have that availability. However, once you view this and you have questions, you can certainly send in questions through our email process here at the city, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. Well, without further delay, it's been 13 months since I've addressed what happened in the city, and exactly 1 year ago this month, COVID-19 hit us. This was a very interesting time for us. During that time when it hit 1 year ago, on the 6th of March to the 12th of March, I was in Washington, D.C. at the National League of Cities with City Supervisor Gary Reedner and Council Vice President Art Betke. Well, what turned out to be a time, and I go to a number of these National League of Cities series, and we sit in on all kinds of different sessions and learn about all kinds of different things. I had an outline of what I wanted to listen to in the different sessions that I wanted to attend, but I quickly found myself doing nothing but going to COVID-19 sessions because it dominated that conference. With that being said, I had the privilege to listen to an epidemiologist from the state of New York talk about pandemics. And pandemics, even though I had heard of pandemics before, really had no idea how they really worked and what it would mean for our country, because after all, we did not have a pandemic up until 1918, the last one we had, which was the Spanish flu epidemic. With that being said, there was no playbook. We had no way of knowing really what to do. And so we were kind of fingering and posturing our way through this process. But overall, I got to say, when I got back from Washington, D.C., we did an emergency proclamation. The state of Idaho shut down. We went into all kinds of different things. And of course, with that came a mask mandate that we had, as well as the social distancing, personal hygiene, and if you're sick, stay home and get tested and so on and so forth. Well, the testing was very slow to start with, very slow reactions getting it done, because as a nation, we really were kind of behind a curve on this because, as I said earlier, we had not had anything since 1918. Going back and researching all the research I did, there was really no playbook. There was nothing to follow other than, I will tell you this, in 1918, there were problems with mask mandates back then, which was kind of interesting because there was folks that boycotted it and didn't like it and so on and so forth. And after all, none of us really like to wear these things. But as a community, by large, we did a pretty good job with that. I did know, as we're going along with the COVID, that how well we did it as a community would help us keep the viruses down and the infection rates down, and thus hospitalizations down, as well as new cases coming forward. The mask mandate, and we also knew, was not going to cure COVID. All it would do would slow it down and help in a big way, and I think we did a very good job in our community. And of course, we had emergency use power code update ordinance 2020-03, and then of course since that time we've had a number of resolutions that we've brought forward as time has gone along. Our current resolution we have on the mask mandate goes until June 9th, 2021. However, as we promised folks, we have a series of matrix, and I'll be talking about those here in a little bit, what that means. But boy, the matrix evaluation, as we went along, we worked with our partners, and our partners was, of course, our Idaho North Central Health District, Gritman Hospital, the University of Idaho, our county commissioners, our chamber, as well as our entire medical field. And that was a big thing for us because we needed to have all hands on deck. And also the Moscow School District was a huge part of this. But what we did with the mask mandate and tying it into this matrix system and how we terminate this matrix is by achieving some of the things that we needed to achieve in order to be fairly safe. And one of them was an average new daily case of 4 or less. And actually 3 weeks ago, we hit that number for 1 week. But then we had a spike, and we went up to 10.5 a day, then we were at 10.2 per day, and then this last week was 7.2, and those numbers are falling again. So I'm looking very forward to those numbers are coming right away in the right direction that we want. With that being said, we still have work to do. Also, one of the things that was a big thing for us was the time to receive the test results, because as I said earlier, tests were slow to come by. They were slow getting the information. You get somebody tested, it was up to a week later. Well, now we've got tests, and we know within a day of how those tests are. And the time to receive the test results, if it's 4 or less, and we're actually in the green on that now because we've done a good job, as everyone else in our state and around has as well. Hospitalization rates less than 5 or less, and we're at that right now and have been for a little while. So those are 2 matrix that we're green on right now. Now, one of the other matrix we had was the governor's orders to be in stage 4. Currently we're in stage 3, so we need to be in stage 4 as well. And my guess is the numbers in the state are going down, and that will continue to go down. And one of the biggest things about making this happen for us is vaccinations. The vaccinations across our country are right around 3 million a day, and they've had over 100 million of these vaccines administered, with well over 40 million that have already been completely vaccinated. So we're well on our way of getting these things done. The vaccinations in the state of Idaho are going pretty smoothly. We have a number of different areas where you can get vaccinated, and of course all this information is online for those that want to get vaccinated. We also know that there are some of those folks that won't get vaccinated for one reason or another. And I must tell everyone that's watching this video, I have had the vaccinations. I've had both shots. Really, they were no big deal for me to get. I just wanted to share that information so that I'm not just talking about it, I'm actually doing it myself. But as we go along, we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel on this, folks. And you know, part of the process of making this happen for us too is all of our partners that I'd mentioned earlier, Gritman Hospital, the North Idaho Central Health District, our Moscow School District, the University of Idaho. And by the way, I want to put a plug in for the University of Idaho because they have done an absolute wonderful job of testing students their entire school year this year. And they've been very quick to quarantine kids when we had various areas within the university that needed to be quarantined. Hats off to President Green and his team on the university campus because they've done a wonderful job. In fact, that's a model that President Green, I'm saying now, had a number of different universities across the country call him and ask him how they implemented and did it. And so we're very, very proud of what they did. And also, we've got to take into account our partners over in Whitman County, right next door. One of the big challenges that we faced in Moscow, and I knew this early on, is here we are, we're a border city in one state, bordering another city, the state of Washington, whose numbers at the time were really terrible when this thing came out, because actually that's where it really started, was in the state of Washington. Nevertheless, we have 2 universities, University of Idaho, and you got Washington State University, 8 miles to the west of us. With that being said, we had to be really rigid about what we did in order to keep these infections in our town down, as well as that town as well. We've worked together with those folks. We had a unique situation here in Moscow, and I can't think of another city that had 2 major universities within 8 miles in 2 different states in this state. So we did know we had to act. We had to act promptly. We had to be decisive about what we did. And we had to have good follow-through. And by the most part, I will say, our citizens have done an excellent job. Yes, we've had a few hiccups along the way, but we're getting through this. And this last year has been difficult on everybody. It doesn't matter if it's been the mayor of this city, or just a citizen, or a university student, or a grade school student, or a stay-home parent that was trying to do work at home, tutor their kids, make supper, pay the bills, all in one swoop. This was difficult for everybody because it was a paradigm shift for all of us in the lives that we've been doing, the lives that we have had in the past, and that changed for us. With that being said, you know, us as Americans, there's a couple of things that I do know. Number one, we don't like to be told what to do. None of us do, because that's just us by nature of this fine country that we have. However, there are those that know that we need to get together and work together to make this happen. And the job we do depends on how quick and how deliberate our town will not only end this thing for us, but move on into the next chapter of our lives. And that I very much look forward to. Again, I want to give hats off to the University of Idaho, all of the city of Moscow, and that includes the workers in the city of Moscow, the Moscow School District, Gritman Medical Center, our Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Latah County Commissioners, because all these groups have been really good to work with. And I also feel great that we were able to help provide information for other towns in our county, smaller towns that were looking for us for leadership to help them pave the way so that they could take care of their communities as well. And I take great pride in that because we all work together in that. That's a big thing for us. I do want to talk about some of the changes that we made. One of them was takeout parking for restaurants, because we did early on, restaurants were closed up, and then when they did open up, they opened up to half capacity. So we had takeout parking that we arranged in front of restaurants so people could call orders in, go pick them up, take them out. Expanded sidewalk cafes. We did this and we did this in a big way throughout the city. And one of the things we learned through this process is the takeout parking and expanded sidewalk cafes, something that we can implement in the future that we had not done before, but we can expand that to make that work for all of us. And we have had businesses very excited about this. And we're going to continue to do more work on that. Delivery of parking permits, drive-in movies at the Kibbe Dome. One of the interesting things was the university put on a movie theater this past summer. Very nice, so that people could go out in their cars, stay in their cars, watch a movie. And these were nice movies. They did a wonderful job. And I couldn't even tell you how many carloads. It seems like it was 200 carloads per movie that was available out there. And they did this most of this summer on specific nights. They did that for people to be able to get out of their houses. And we had people from other communities that were coming up watching it. So, as I said, the University of Idaho was a huge, huge partner in helping us with this and getting us through this difficult time. It was like I said, this past year has been an interesting time for all of us, and we've had to all make changes about the way we've done things, the way we've lived, and our normalcy getting back to normal. Now, as we go along, we're not back to normal right now, of course, but we're inching along closer and closer. Like I said, and you'll hear me say that several times during this video, we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Farmers Market, I want to talk about that because Farmers Market was a unique way we did business in 2020. The market was small. We had a lot less vendors. Some of the vendors we didn't have at all. We did not have food. But we did have a drive-in where you could do your orders online and pick various food products up in the city hall's parking lot. And it worked very, very well. We're looking at getting back to a more normal state this year for the farmers market. Not 100% the way it was before, but similar. And we're looking for that process. Of course, our market will open the first Saturday in May, as always, and go till the last Saturday in October. But as we progress through this, we'll see a changing dynamic in our market where hopefully it'd be great to be doing a modified version to start with, and by the end of the season be full scale. Won't be able to know how that'll all work out until we get into it, but we're working on it. But one thing I will say is the drive-in orders to be able to pick up. That was something that was a positive that came out of the COVID, and we're going to be doing that and implementing that in the farmers market for future years, so that those that want to just come down and buy their things and leave, they'll be able to do that. For me, when I go to the farmers market, it's about a 2-hour process. It takes me about 10 minutes to find the things I want to buy and enjoy. And it takes me about an hour and 50 minutes to go through and discuss and talk to all the different citizens that I run into, because it's one of my most favorite things to do, is to talk and socialize with our citizens and others who are coming about that have never been in our town before, because our farmers market is the #1 in the state of Idaho. It's in the top 15 in America, and we're going to continue that trend, and it's going to happen for us this year. Anyway, those are the big things for Bill Lambert when it comes to the COVID, and I wanted to talk about. We did receive some federal funding through the CARES Act. We received $887,100 based on our population, $1.64 million based on public safety expenses. And also what we did was we had a property tax relief where we were able to take that money and convert it into savings on property tax for 1 year, because we know that property taxes have been going up in our city as well as our county over these last several years, and that really helped out a lot of folks, and so we were happy to be able to do that. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say, as I mentioned, there was no playbook on COVID, none whatsoever. We were just been going along, doing things as we're going, trying to do the best we could, getting all kinds of ideas from folks. One of the things that we're doing here in the city of Moscow is we're putting a journal together, and we're documenting what happened, some of the things that went really well for us, some of the things that didn't go as well for us, maybe some things that we'd do differently. But the whole idea behind this journal is so that there is a pandemic, I hope never would happen again in this country, but someday it probably will. But let's say it's 50 years from now and there's a new pandemic that comes along. Well, if you're the mayor or you're the city council or you're the city supervisor or you're the police chief or whoever you may be, wouldn't it be nice to have a journal to look back and say, well, this is what they did in 2020, so it gives them some kind of a base to go by. There was nothing like that we had here in Moscow, and nothing that we could find online either. So we were, like I said, we were feeling our way through this process. But I'm very, very proud of the citizens of this city. You know, we are a diverse town. You're going to hear me mention that a number of different times. And we're making it through it, ladies and gentlemen. We are making it through it because we're going to fight. We're never going to give up. We're going to make it happen for us. And we are seeing the end up ahead. We're in the latter innings of COVID-19. And for those folks watching this, bear with us. We've got a little ways to go. But it's kind of neat because I'm talking and doing this on spring break week. When spring break week's over, our school district will be going back to 4 days a week of in-person schooling rather than 2 that they've had since the fall semester started. I'm very excited for them because the schools have done a wonderful job. I did a presentation out at the middle school just 6 weeks ago, and year to date they had not had a COVID case yet, and it was because of the follow-through that those kids have done. And by the way, I've read Bookabunga school books with grade school kids. I did 5 different classes, and one of the things I'll tell you about kids, not only did they get it, they were wonderful with it. They made it happen. And us as parents and us as citizens, whether you're a senior citizen or just a citizen or just an adult, we can learn something from these kids because they make it happen. They work together on it, and it's a wonderful thing to see how well they did and made this happen for us. So with that, I'm going to go on to other things, but COVID-19 was something that we've never encountered since 1918. Like I said, no records of it. Nobody had a playbook for it. We went by the best information that we could get, and we're still following that information. And we're going to get through this, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to happen for us, so I'm proud to report that. With that, we're going to go on to some of the different construction projects and things that happened in 2020. And one of our huge accomplishments was the A Street reconstruction. And this A Street reconstruction has been something that has been in the talks and in the works for 30 years, 3 decades. We finally got the thing done, and it cost some money to do it. The total project cost on this thing was $4.63 million. Federal funds, we got $2.28 million, and we spent the city $1.95 million to get it completed. But this was something with the traffic we need and the building growth that's going on in Moscow. This project was something that was very worthwhile for all of us. And we're very happy that it's done, and we have had a lot of compliments. In fact, I got to share a quick story. I had several people that were upset about having a mask mandate that came out and was complaining about this and giving me the business about it. But then at the very bottom of their emails that they sent to us, they said, oh, by the way, A Street looks great. You guys did a good job on that. So that brought a little bit of a smile to my face, because even though folks might have been critical in some ways of the mask mandate or the social distancing, they really recognized that, yes, we were doing things and we were getting things done. And by the way, as you see as we're talking today, you'll see where we never quit doing things. We kept chugging away, and we kept doing projects, and we kept working. And as I said earlier, we don't ever give up. We keep working. Everybody keeps working. We're industrious. All of us are. And so we make it happen for us. But anyway, that A Street project, after 30 years, we're certainly happy that we have accomplished that. Now I want to talk about playgrounds and recreation. Lyle Rotary Park, which was built in 1969, playground was really deteriorating. And we installed a new concrete pad and playground equipment, rubberized playground, and tiles for kids' protection. And now these new playgrounds are completely different than what they were built 40, 50 years ago. These playgrounds, you have a cement base and you have a pad to keep everybody from getting hurt very bad. And back in the day when I was a kid, you had gravel out there or black asphalt, and if you fell out of a swing or something, you just skinned yourself up pretty good. We don't have that now. We're making that happen so the kids are much, much safer. And by the way, there's ADA access on these sidewalks and pathways up to date, and so we're very happy about that. Look at all the kids out here, and the moms and the dads that have brought their children. This is exactly why we continue building these parks. And refurbishing the ones that need to be replaced. So like I said, this is our 5th one. More to come. We're very excited about that. And so listening to these kids laugh, listening to them have fun, and this is great for parents and on this nice spring day. So that's one of the parks that we were able to get completed, and there's more to come. I believe that's the 4th park that we have done, with 3 more in the works through our strategic planning process over these next several years. I do want to talk about the Palouse Ice Rink. The Hamilton funds, we pledged $1 million for the new ice rink that's going to be coming from the old NRS building, and they're working very diligently to get this thing put together, and hopefully there will be a new ice rink going early 2022. They have done their due diligence, and they're really making it happen. So the ice rink, that's another thing. Like I said, we didn't quit. We keep working away. You know, I want to talk about the HIRC and the swimming pool, Aquatic Center, the Hamilton-Lowe Aquatic Center. Last year we didn't have swimming. We had laps and those types of things, but the swimming wasn't open to the public. This year that will change, so stay tuned. We'll be coming out with more information on that in April. And so that's something that you can all be excited about. And we'll let more information to come soon on that. Like I said, in April we'll be making some decisions. But as I said, folks, the sky's getting clearer at the end of the tunnel, and we're going to move forward. Now we're going to move into an interesting little subject, and this public art on homecoming. And what I mean by, I'm not talking about the homecoming parade here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the homecoming artwork that's on North Main that was put up in 2019 when you come in off of 95 and the highway splits into the one-way at Jackson in Maine, on North Main. That open area we filled that up with some pretty neat, what they call Palouse Hills farmhouse highlights of the region, birds and various things. But it added a little ambience coming in from the north end of town to get kind of a flavor for our town, which really is the heart of the arts here in Moscow. And so for that, from a cultural standpoint, that's a big thing. In art walks, we've had art walks every year except 2020. It was canceled because of the COVID. But the neat thing, we are going to have a 2021 art walk. It'll be modified from normal years and toned down a little bit. They've done some improvements on it to make it even a little bit better. So it'll be interesting. It'll feature things on Main Street. We'll have it closed. Some of the streets fair will be postponed until 2022. So with that being said, like I said, it'll be a little different, modified from past years. However, we will in fact have one this year. We're moving forward and we look for this thing to be completely returned to a normal status in 2022. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about the 6th Street Bridge and Mountain View Road home improvements. The 6th Street Bridge, which during the flooding of 2019 really caused severe damage to that bridge, we knew we had to replace it because of the significant damage that was done. The estimated cost on replacing that bridge is $1.83 million. The city match, we were able to get $1.15 million through grants, and so the city's going to have to come up with $695,000, which we have in our capital projects, to make this thing work. And that was a U.S. Economic Development grant that we received for this. And so that bridge, once it's done, it'll be done to standards. The old bridge was a culvert bridge, which was a county bridge back in the day before the city was even annexed out that far. So that thing had been there for many, many decades. I think close to 70 years is what I've heard. I have no idea if that's correct or not, but it's been for many decades. But that will be replaced. The work will start on that in spring of 22. And the neat thing about it is we'll end up having sidewalks on both the north side and the south side of that. So that'll be with some street improvements too. So we're very much looking forward to connecting with already existing sidewalks that are there now. We also have got a grant application out for the reconstruction of Mountain View for the roundabout on 6th Street in Mountain View. We won't know from LTAC yet. But we're supposed to be getting information within the next several months. If we get that grant funding for that, we will do that project in 2022 as well. Otherwise, that project will probably be delayed until 2024. But as I said earlier in this presentation, we were working on chipping away and getting things done, and we will. We were working away on these things. Some of the economic development growth that I'm very, very pleased with, Schweitzer Engineering announced in 2020 the acquisition of 156 acres for a site for them that has been annexed into the city. They are going to be starting production of a 140,000 square foot manufacturing facility, chip factory, starting this spring. And this is also going to have a phased-in employment growth that will start in 2022. So I'm very excited about that. Schweitzer has been a huge partner in other areas in our Quad City here. With having, of course, their home and big facility in Pullman, they also have a facility in Lewiston, and now we have a 156-acre campus that for decades to come, they will be enhancing that. So it's going to be fun over the next years to see what Schweitzer develops. But there is an employee-owned company that has been just marvelous in our entire area on the Palouse. We look forward to being partners with them and working with them further as we go in. This is very neat. I was so excited about them being part of our community. I want to talk a little bit about the Target store that is going to be going in on the mall, the Palouse Mall. That's a 60,000 square foot store, which has been needed very badly for years and years in our fine town. This is something that's been in the works and talks of people's minds for 25 years that I know of in Moscow. Imagine a 60,000 square foot Target. And hopefully, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be opening sometime this summer in time for the school season. So that'll be a great place for kids to get their school clothes and for moms to shop. And I don't know for how many years I've heard a lot of ladies say, we need to get a target in Moscow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is here. It's coming quickly, and we're excited about that. I also want to talk about the new EMSI building, EMSI office building, a 70,000 square foot facility that as soon as you get on Jackson Street, at the north end of the couplet, you can see this amazing building that's going to employ 500 people. Right now, there are close to 200 employees, so that is huge growth for that company. And where the old St. John's hardware store currently is, that will be torn down, and they will have eventually have an identical building there, which will be another 70,000 square foot building, and that will house another 500 employees. So eventually, EMSI will employ 1,000 people here in the city of Moscow. Isn't that terrific for economic development and growth? That's a big thing we have between them and Schweitzer Engineering. We've got all kinds of auxiliary businesses coming. Now, with that being said, you may say, oh my gosh, what with these extra businesses, what will happen? Well, you know, you take the multiplier effect and you add other businesses in. That means more shops of various kinds, clothing places, eateries, coffee shops, additional grocery stores, or more people working in grocery stores, expanded business throughout. It's a multiplier effect, ladies and gentlemen, and it makes it happy for all of us because that is just more business for Moscow. That's a big deal for us because when we can do that and we build more homes, we've got more money, school districts can take a look at maybe buying a new school, building a new school, and we sorely need a new high school. We've needed one of those for a number of years. And just putting a plug in for our friends, the Moscow School District, it's been 56 years since we built the newest school here in Moscow. And I think it's about time we look at building another one. But we need a high school bad. So those are the types of things, economic development, that moves us forward to getting things done. And that's part of the piece within our community. I'm going to move on to our stormwater utility. Last year when I gave the presentation at the chamber, I talked about a stormwater utility, and that is an EPA mandate that we must do. We do not have an option at the city. This has been something that has been an ongoing thing for about 15 years. We have got 4 years to get this thing started from start to completion. We were going to do it last year. And because of COVID, we elected not to do it because this is an expense to homeowners at $9 per month. And of course, there's a fee for businesses as well, the big businesses that have asphalt surfaces. But it's something that we're going to have to improvise and put in the 2022 budget. So it is coming. There shouldn't be a surprise. And like I said, we'll launch the start of it in October of 2021. But we need to get on path to make it happen. This stormwater utility, the funds that go for it will be used strictly for that and nothing else. So the fee that is charged will go for this and go for this only. The equipment, the manpower that we need to use for that in order to get it done to suffice for the EPA. And we will do this. And it's not all going to happen in 2022. It's going to take a process of several years, but we need to get started on it, and we need to get started on it on our next budget year. So October 2021 is when we're going to start with that new fiscal year of 2022. And so that's something that's going to be coming forward. And of course, the whole thing about that is the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. In other words, it's the phosphates and the different things that flow into our Paradise Creek, and that's what we're trying to work on. And as we go along, we get that done, and we will get it done. We need to move forward with it. So the council, that's something the council has actually worked on for well over a year, but like I said, we postponed it last year and delayed it for 1 year, but this year we need to be moving forward with that project because it's going to have to happen. Oh, by the way, that stormwater utility, as that funding gets developed for that, down the road, who knows, maybe we can charge less of a fee. We won't know that until we're several years into the program. So more to come on that as we go along, but that money is strictly for that program and nothing else. Strategic planning process that we've had, strategic planning and priority-based budgeting. is how we've got a number of these things done for us. That's something we implemented in 2014. I was pretty excited about it because what it does is there's always an ongoing process, and we're getting things completed. And we've never stopped on that strategic planning process. And one of those projects is our new police department, which I'm going to talk about here in just a little bit. But how we make things happen in our city is through strategic planning, priority-based budgeting. We're very frugal with the money here. We just don't waste dollars, and we're very serious about what we do with them. And so we're going to keep churning away, making that happen for us. I'll say one thing about it. We do have an investment planning pool, our local government investment pool. We have terrible interest rates as far as getting money on money that we invest. It was at 0.29, and we invested in a targeted investment plan through this strategic planning process, and we're earning about 3% a year, which we're very, very happy about. And so that helps. That's money towards more capital improvement projects going to various, like our sewer fund, water fund, so on and so forth. Capital improvement programs, we're going to continue. We're working on those. And like I said a little bit ago, the police department's one of them. We've got a bond that we passed in 2019, and it was a wonderful bond, 10-year bond. And we told folks that bond that we put out would be a 2.21% and roughly about $10 million bond. Well, we ended up getting it for 1.27, and I want to tell you the highlight of that. Over the life of that bond, that saves our citizens $500,000. And I don't know, I'm pretty confident we've never had a bond that cheap with interest rates. Don't know whether we'll ever have another bond that cheap, but the timing on that was perfect for our citizens to make happen. But this is something that will be used for decades and decades to come, so sorely needed here in the city of Moscow. We're just so thrilled by having this. This will open up late summer of 2021. We're very, very excited about it. With that being said, you know, with that bond, we were projected to use $1.55 million to redo our police department for other businesses in our city. By that, other office spaces. Well, we were able to purchase a Haddock building for $875,000, which was a savings over remodeling the police department of $680,000. Well, however, we're going to probably end up putting close to $400,000 in improvements in that Haddock building. But the overall sum of that, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a chance to save about $250,000, $250,000. And that's what we do. And so you can all be proud of it as citizens of this city, that we're looking at things that we can save money on. Now, also, the savings on these things as we go along, if we can do this all along, just a little bit here and a little bit there, it can amount up to a lot of extra dollars for capital improvement projects as we go along. And that can be put into other things, whether maybe it's more street money that we want to put in above and beyond the street monies that we collect, or maybe some other kind of infrastructure that we need as we're working forward. Those things will keep moving our town forward, but we have to keep chipping away. We don't ever give up. We don't ever stop. We still need to keep plugging away. And I've used this analog with folks. It's like eating an elephant. We've got to do it. It's going to take a long time to get done. Infrastructure is that way, whether it's streets, sewers, sidewalks, so on and so forth, ADA type things. But we will continue to work on it, and we will work on it every single year, because that's what we need to do in order to make this work. Now, I want to take a few minutes of talking about capital projects. I want to talk about our wonderful airport, where we've got our new runways that's up and running. And of course, COVID, we had 5 flights out at the airport, Alaska flights. COVID hit. We went from 5 down to 1 a day. And that 1 a day, when the COVID was right in the heat of the battle of this thing, there was days we didn't even have a flight come in because there was no passengers coming in, there was no passengers leaving, and a lot of that was because of the shutdown throughout the country and the problem that we were all dealing with COVID. Well, we're working through that process. Now we're up to 2 flights a day, which is very, very nice. And just coming up in May, Alaska has announced that they're looking into putting a 3rd flight on for us. And so the numbers, as I say, now that's not back up to the 5, but that's 3 flights that we're working on. And it looks very, very promising by the fall of 2021 that we'll have 4 flights. And of course, we're looking for our universities to open up as usual in the fall of 21. And we're also looking for those fall football seasons and sporting events to be back to normal. With that happening, we're going to see and generate a lot more traffic and flow through these 2 cities here on the Palouse. That's very exciting. We also are in works with United Airlines about having a flight back east from here to Denver. And we're looking at other flights that may happen as well. Our executive director, Tony Bean, has been working very, very hard, because we do know, even though the flights have been way down compared to last year, they're starting to inch up. And as we move back into this economic recovery through 2021, more flights will be added. And there's airlines that are constantly looking for new routes and routes that they can connect to other routes. And of course, we're working very, very hard to, again, get a Boise flight from here to Boise. So we've got our fingers crossed. We're working on this. If we can get the United thing to come in here, then we'll be guaranteed for 4 years with that. So that's an exciting thing. I'm not sure if that's going to happen this fall, but it kind of looks like it. So I can't promise that, but those are the things that we're working for. And with that, I'm going to go into our terminal update. We've been talking about building a new terminal. We do have, in fact, a contractor on board for that. And we know that we have at least $40 million right now, maybe even more than that. We haven't got the dollars and cents tacked down on that, but that's something that we're getting very close for the design, so that we can present that design package to our community and to Pullman's community, so they can see exactly what that new terminal will look like. And so we're very excited about that. That will be something that will probably start in 2022 as far as building. But it'll be exciting, because we're looking, right now we have an 8,000 square foot facility, and we're looking at between 45,000 and 50,000 square foot facility, which would have 2 gates to start with, 2 more gates that eventually we can put on, and both sides of that building, the east side and the west side, will be able to be opened up for future expansion. So we're going to build a building that in 40 years from now or 30 years from now, we need more room. We will have the room that we can put forth to make that airport. And this is a Class A airport for us. I mean, that's something the whole Palouse can be proud of. Nothing quite like that. And so we're very excited with that happening to us. More to come. And it's been great working with Glenn Johnson, the mayor from Pullman, and in collaboration with them. Because after all, folks, we're part of the Palouse. I talked earlier about the COVID thing. Well, that COVID didn't stop at the state line. There wasn't a fence going east or west. It just follows and goes wherever it wishes. So we're part of the Palouse. We have to work together. We're too small communities to not make that happen. So if we can get our 2 towns, our 2 universities, our 2 counties, our 2 states working together, there's nothing that we can't do, and we're moving forward. And so I'm very, very excited about that. With that, I'm going to talk about back to business and back to basics. I talked earlier about strategic planning, sustainability. One of the big challenges that we have in our town, and we know this, is affordable housing. And with that being said, we do have a number of things to look forward to. I know that currently there are some subdivisions that are going to be going through planning and zoning in the next several months. City Council will be seeing those as well. So we're going to see a building spurt happen, it looks to me like, which is good. We need that for our housing, because our housing market is very, very tight right now, and we need to be able to expand on that. And so we've got developers out there looking at doing that very thing for us, because, you know, after all, I talked about EMSI and I talked about Schweitzer growing. Well, those businesses create other businesses. And as that happens, our town grows. We need that type of growth. And we need a type of housing, so we've got a variety of all kinds of housing for all kinds of folks out there. And so that's something we're working on. And it's not an easy thing to fix, but it's something, if we stay consistently on it, we continue to work on it, that process will happen for us. With that being said, it is a big deal for us because we need to move forward in our town. And housing is a huge factor of that. And of course, everybody needs a place. They got to stay at a place. They have to be able to live at a place. And of course, our town is one of those towns that is very sought after because people are moving here, and they're moving here because they can do things remotely. They can do their profession remotely. And here's a wonderful thing about our airport. Maybe they have to go to their home office once every few weeks or once a month or something like that. They can fly out of this airport, get to where their home base is, but then 3 out of the 4 weeks, maybe they're here, or maybe 7 out of the 8 weeks they're here. And so that's a pretty neat thing for us. And these are folks that are looking to raise their families and getting out of the hustle and bustle of the metropolitan cities such as Seattle and Portland. So we know that we're working on it, and everybody is looking forward to making that happen. I do want to talk about a resolution that was passed just recently by our city council, and that's the family-friendly restrooms, the gender-neutral restrooms. We're moving that forward in our city facilities, parks, our city hall. Some restrooms won't change. Some are already set that way. If you go out to our HIRC, all of our bathrooms out there are family-friendly, where they're just one-unit bathrooms. You go and lock the door behind you. And of course, all these porta potties that we have in these new parks, they're single use right now. And as we go along, we're going to be building a new restroom at Indian Hills Park this year. And that will be a general neutral where you have single doors going into single use bathrooms. And so as we go along, we also, Mountain View Park, which has been around for, I don't know, 50 years maybe. We've got an ADA grant, and so we will be able to take that bathroom, change that bathroom around, so we have ADA access as well as single use. And so we're looking very forward to that because that's a very busy field that we have. And there's other bathrooms that will take much longer to get there, but we can do these things and make it happen, and it'll happen through our city. In closing, I just want to say a few things. This pandemic has been long. It's been a 1-year process. We're on the 13th month of this thing. And I think everybody is getting tired of it. And I will say that I'm so happy that folks have hung in there. They've made it work. You know, we were put in a position unlike any other situation that we've ever been in before. There, like I said, there's no playbook for this. You know, we were tried on many different levels and in all aspects of our lives as we're going through this. And I'd like to think that our city, that we've become stronger because of this. And I know I certainly have been. And I know some things I look at differently, and I wouldn't say more openly because I've always looked at myself as being a very open person. But we're in this for the betterment of our overall community and making it work for all of us the best we can. You know, I'll say something else. You know, we're getting closer to the end of this thing, but sometimes it's the last miles that are the toughest to get done too. So don't give up hope. Don't ever give up hope. Yes, it's going to happen. I can't give you a specific date, but it's going to be something that we all as a town can shout about. But let's just take it and think about this. Let's care for one another. Let's look after one another. And let's appreciate the different opinions that each one of us has. After all, ladies and gentlemen, and I've said this ever since this pandemic started, the enemy is the pandemic, not our neighbors. Not our neighbors. It's the pandemic. And we're working on that, and we're getting closer to that. With that being said, you know, our community is diverse. One of the reasons I've loved living here for the last 45 years is because of the diversity that we have in this community. Nothing any better than that. Well, with that diversity, we've got all kinds of different opinions. And of course, I've had all kinds of advice from all kinds of folks, and I appreciate all those informations. But always remember this, folks. I've got to be able to do what I think is best for the overall community. And sometimes that's tough for some to accept. But anyway, I want to thank you all for listening to this. I want to thank you for this long year. Yes, the sky's getting bluer. Yes, we're going to make it through it. And by golly, we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win. This is Moscow, Idaho. We never give up out there, folks. We never give up. And I'm looking forward as we continue this year. Thank you very much. Please send me any questions you'd like. Usually right now I take about 10 or 15 minutes and answer questions. And I just have my video guy in here, so it's just him and me. And so he has no questions for me, but please write me. Thank you very much and take care.